live now.
Yep, I was gonna say, all of that gold went down the toilet.
Yep. Oh my gosh, we're only going live now?
Yeah, it just went live now.
Oh my gosh.
So hey, Mighty Peculiar audience, guys, you just missed some great stuff that will be on this website that Denver is now going to run. It's called OnlyFans or Only Dens. Yes, a lot of TMI just happened. And,
yep.
I will let Denver take it.
Tell them all about your surgery.
Yeah, the reason that I'm feeling so frisky today and why we can talk about OnlyFans is I did have a colonoscopy today. Over 50 colonoscopy. By the way, guys, clean bill of health. Clean bill of health. But
ready to wear another tidy another day.
Well, I just spend the entire night pretty much in agony and ecstasy, drinking that clear 1 gallon of
equal
stuff.
Parts, or
no, I mean, the agony and the ecstasy was when I was finally over, but it was 5:15 in the morning. I had to take it, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. and 8-ounce slugs, 8 ounces every 10 to 15 minutes. And then you got it for half, and you got to start the other half at 3 in the morning, 5 hours before you show up. So then at 3 in the morning, I set my alarm, got up every 15 minutes, you drink 8 ounces. And there's a specific issue that you have. There's an outcome, after those 8 ounces, right? When you're doing that. So, it's something. It's something.
I feel bad for the people who are watching this who didn't get the text that Matt and I got last night.
Well, I'll tell you this. When your family's from West Virginia, you know how to explain things in a way people understand. Yep. and that's really what it comes down to. You know how to explain that. So no, it's just I wanted to do this. I think it's really important to our thousands of listeners out there that we continue to do this show no matter what. And oh gosh, Mama Bird, I tell you, the prep is not great. And I can't believe that we're talking about this right now, but that's because you made me.
We made
just to
you.
let you know.
Yes.
You just spent this whole hour just talking about your butt. We'll do that for an hour.
Like 24 hours.
Welcome to the Mighty Peculiar. Aren't you glad you tuned in?
Oh man, I know they are. I know you're glad I'm very glad they tuned in.
I guess one thing is, you should be happy that your doctor did not say, wow, this is mighty peculiar during the procedure.
Oh my gosh. Tim is really good at this. From the bowels of Congress. You got that right. And it was
showing me up.
But yeah, so no, so that's, and I know that we have just an incredible show today. We've done a lot of prep. I mean,
did we?
So,
because guys, just so you know, Denver is leading this show today. Post procedure, Denver has got a lot to say, and this
we had this.
Be very.
Well, we had this. Doug, what we were talking about for Jehovah's Witnesses, how did we get on that? We were talking about
talking about Virginia, and then you learned Portuguese to proselytize Mormonism to your neighbors.
Yes. So when I was
that, right? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I know a lot of people don't know this, but I got kicked out of the missionary training center. I wasn't quite good enough Mormon. If you read my book, The Breach, you would understand that I didn't exactly follow sort of the celibate lifestyle in high school. Right. So that's the best way I can put it. But when I was at the MTC, we were learning to teach we were taught Portuguese. I was supposed to go to Lisbon. We were taught about all the lessons, right? And the fact that the lessons were, there's a living prophet, there's special ordinances that you need to get to the celestial kingdom out of the 3 kingdoms. You had the celestial, and terrestrial kingdom. So you had to do certain things to get to the celestial. And really what it came down to is we were the one true church. And being the one true church, we had a responsibility to go out and make sure that everybody else was brought into the fold, because our tribe was the one true tribe. And you even had special garments that you wear, and you had special ordinances that only you could do, like baptizing those that had already died into the religion to give them a chance to also reach the highest kingdom, because they were either in one of the lower kingdoms or our own spirit world, which is our other word for our purgatory, right? You had all that going on. And I think that's why what I see now with tribalism in politics, or if you have an R behind your name or a D or even an L, like a libertarian, which is also for loser, no. So, but, so you have all these things go if you're, I'm just kidding to you libertarians mostly. And then, you have, the Greens, or you have all these individuals who just want to be in this narrow part of that's how they do things. I think it's sort of reared its ugly head this week. My God, it's reared its ugly head for generations. But when, with the Taylor Swift attacks, which are just absolutely ludicrous. And just to see that coming from the right to a very popular woman billionaire, and also to, Travis Kelce, she is the football witch, and to see the things that have been said about her really does show you that America really has a sickness when they align with their tribe. And I think you've seen that really. I think as we go into election season 2024, I think that's actually going to exacerbate to the point where you're going to have violence because your tribe is the one true tribe that's supposed to be, part of America as far as either Christian nationalism, religious, or maybe it comes from the left. Maybe there's that when you're looking at counterterrorism or domestic terrorism, sometimes there's an actual equal reaction, from the other side of the spectrum based on how violence is happening or what's going on in the world. So really, it's just amazing to me how tribalism has taken over in this country. And I'm very familiar with what it feels like that my tribe is the best.
But you know what? You also know what it's like when your tribe decides that you're not such a good member of the tribe anymore, too. So that's the one thing that I feel like is underlining
Matt,
everything that you've said is like, not only do you see it as this cultural phenomenon as it's happening, but you also have that lived experience of it that I think just makes it all the more salient.
Well, I've been ejected from multiple tribes. It's a trend,
Right.
if you think, it's, and
Dude,
really it's,
what? It was good when you got out of that Haley's or the
Hail
Haley's
Bob,
Comet Hail Bob
because their shoes sucked.
It was
I'm
really
like,
nice when they
why,
kicked you out.
yeah, why? Because their tennis shoes were awful, and I mean, I wanted to wear white sneaks.
You guys call this
So, I
fashion?
mean, my gosh,
He wasn't a
I
bunk bed person either.
no, I hate bunk beds because I was raised in a bunk bed and I had a phobia, about being in a bunk bed because my little brother peed off the top one once when I was in the bottom bunk. So, I have those phobias. But yeah, I mean, I think if you have our listeners, right, we have people watching now. If you think about what you react to, I would humbly submit. I think even when it's, maybe it's the opposite team. Maybe, it looks like, it's almost, and Doug, I don't want to steal your thunder on this, but when you're looking at tribalism, it seems like it doesn't matter what's right or wrong. You align yourself with that tribe regardless of the allowances and the rationalizations you have to make. I mean, can you imagine aligning with a tribe that follows a guy who just had an $80+ million judgment because of sexual assault?
Mm-hmm.
And they're cheering this guy on, and I don't understand. Like even me who knows domestic terrorism and radicalization and tribes and religious fervor, how is this guy still the imperfect vessel for the perfect message of Christ or God or for evangelicals? It's a nonsensical, just bizarre thing. And it really goes to show, I think these individuals have real issues.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, I was going to say, how is this still happening? Like, how is he still this imperfect vessel? I think one thing is because now there is no perfect message. I don't even think like the most like devout, like Trump fanatics think there's a perfect message. It's all about scoring points. So just as long as they're racking up the points, like just one hit, like if you could take down Taylor Swift, or if you can like, take, some culture war nonsense, like if you just start fanning those flames, that's all that matters. There doesn't have to be like, a long-term plan. It's just, is this the guy that's still punching the guys I don't like in the face? And Trump will always deliver on that because that's next, second to breathing for him. Is just,
I want to say something that could get me kicked out of another tribe right now is that I don't like Taylor Swift music. So I don't. But why would I?
Well, it's not for you. It's not.
Well, but why would I hate somebody because of their success? That's totally different. Because I don't like her music doesn't mean I hate her. I actually admire the fact that she followed her dream. She's done incredible marketing. She's in the right place at the right time. She had a little bit of luck, but it really comes down to talent, perseverance.
She's a fantastic songwriter. It's not my thing, but she's a fantastic
songwriter.
She's very talented.
Smart, right? All that. Will I listen to Taylor Swift? No, I don't particularly like it. But I want her to do well. Why would I care how well she does? Great, right? Yeah. That's fantastic. Travis Kelce, why would I care if he does right or bad or he's dating Taylor Swift? Good for him, right? So, I love distillers. So I love my wife, so there you go, right? So people probably should be more envious of me based on the fact we have distilleries. I think I'm the Travis Kelce of whiskey. And my wife is the Taylor Swift. I like her. Like she's the.
Here, I've just gone on about how I don't like Taylor Swift. So now let me compare her to my wife.
Did I tell you guys I had a colonoscopy and I'm really exhausted? And
we're live, ladies and gentlemen.
We are live. We are live. But no. So anyhow, I think the tribal thing, and I think you said it, Doug, and I was waiting for you to jump in on it. It's really the sportification, right?
You're not civic-minded people. You're not civic-minded free thinkers. You're just sports fans. That's it. That's
it.
That's really all it breaks down to.
You're sports fans. That's right. And that's why I think that is what it is. I think it's
mighty, peculiar.
My God, it's a big night tonight, Matt. Big night.
Yes, it is. How are you doing, Denver? You hanging in there?
I'm hanging in. Usually I'm much more bubbly, or I'm drinking bubbly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
can we just not any things that put mentally? No.
Well, I was going bubble guts now, right? I went from bubbly to drinking bubbly to bubble guts, and yeah, I didn't think that stuff would still be lingering with me. That the clean out solution that I had to use, over the last 24 hours. But man, oh man, I just want to, go to sleep. But I had to do the show because, like I said before, this is it, man. This is it.
And everyone out there watching and later listening, it is like Denver's like perseverance that is making this happen tonight. Because like in our text chain, like I kept giving him every single out. Just let us know if you're not, and he was like, nope, gonna do it.
Oh,
and so you can thank and blame Denver for however this goes.
I'm a little worried. But it would have been shitty if I missed this.
Yeah, and you would have thought you were all out of shits to give, but you're not. Okay, no. Let's just do this right now. We're going to do the business part, and then we'll get to
the business part. And let's get going. It's exciting.
So, okay. If you're watching this, which some of you are right now on YouTube, please like the episode, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. If you're listening to this later on your podcast platform, please rate us, write a review. Writing a review would be great. And if you don't do that, then I've got to threaten you guys twice. So call back to last week. When you are having a nice summer picnic, we're going to have the tree climbing fish dive bomb you on your picnic baskets. And Yogi Bear will probably come steal them too. And then this week's threat is if you guys don't do that, then you're going to have to put up with me reading the entirety of dad jokes every 43-year-old dad should know. Doug muted my threat because he's scared of dad jokes. So just for you, Doug, let's see here. What's the worst thing about ancient history class? No, nothing. No, okay. The teachers tend to babble on. Okay.
That's moving on.
Okay.
Let's
also,
go.
We have a Patreon. We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/The Mighty Peculiar. We've got an awesome episode about Cobra already up. It talks a lot about Satanic Panic, some really great behind the scenes stuff, and Denver as film critic. We've got an episode coming out soon about music. And we've got another movie one coming up pretty soon too that Doug has put out a trailer for. So you can go find that on patreon.com/Mighty Peculiar. We also have merch, and I saw that someone, I think it was Tim, said his Mighty Peculiar hoodie arrived. So you got to send a picture of you wearing that, and we can put it on maybe next week's show.
Can we get it out live? Is it possible?
I mean, that would rely on Tim.
That would rely on Tim. So Tim would have to actually take a picture, I guess, and
find
send it in,
so
and all that. Send to Mighty Peculiar, because we have our Gmail account too.
I just need to say this. My mom is in the chat, and she's who got me this book that I'm subjecting you guys to. Just
way to go, Mom. My mom is not in the chat. So this is great, man. That's great to have that book, man. And your mom is the best. She's great. I love her.
Denver has met my mom, so he's actually being sincere.
I am being sincere.
So, okay. What are we talking about, Denver?
Well, I know that you had a very bright idea about talking about something about convoys.
Ooh, yes. Yes. We can't get around the huge convoy currently just trekking across the United States. I don't know. There's like 5 people.
It looked, when you see it, and I think our listeners know, I don't know if anybody's seen the pictures of this, but the convoy looks like the carnival that's coming into town. Look at that. What is that? That is the convoy that's coming into town. And I think what people need to realize, it's a grift. That's really all it is. Yeah, it's a grift. I know. But the other thing too about this.
I have to weigh in here for a second. I just got to show you some photos of my Nana's carpool to Atlantic City, because it kicks the crap out of this convoy. Like, look at that. Look at how many vehicles. Look how deep my grandma rolls.
Now, that is securing the border right there. Yeah. They're going to show up. Yeah.
Definitely.
That is.
I love that Doug pops in, shows like, look how awesome my grandma is. Pops out.
Just withdrawals immediately. So, no, I think with the convoy too, if people are still on X and Twitter, or you're on Threads, I think what I would really highly recommend is to go some of the actual open source researches out there, like Jenny Cohn, Vision Surreal. There's just so many places you can go. If you look up Convoy, you can see where a lot of these backers really are, either part of NAR, the New Apostolic Reformation. There's a lot of Christian nationalist funders have a lot that say that they're connected to Mike Flynn. I'd like to look into that a little bit more. But really, it's the same folks, guys. It's always the same folks on the grift running these kind of operations. But this convoy thing is so ridiculous. I mean, I know we talked about tribes at the beginning, but this convoy tribe is pretty lame. And, but knowing who the backers are, it's the same kind of guys who believe in J6, who believe in 9/11 trutherism. And you have the new October 7th truthers, right? That October 7th was actually an inside job by Israel, was a deep state operation, right? To actually try to, coerce or force war in the region. Now you have the October 7th deniers and truthers. I mean, you're getting to a point now that I feel like, I don't know, guys. I mean, I feel like we're reaching some kind of pinnacle in stupidity, and in grift and in tribalism that I don't know how we get out of it.
Well, we could get all in our vehicles, get in a line, and start driving across state lines. That solves problems.
Can we do an anti-convoy? So for our listeners, right? Go ahead, Matt. Your light bulb just came on.
Well, I was just going to say, okay. So first of all, I was trying to figure out what an anti-convoy was. And then I realized you just got to annoy them. So if we could do a convoy of people riding penny farthings, alongside them, with the old curly Q mustaches, and just keep annoying those drivers, they will stop.
Well, what I did when I was a kid, where I almost got caught by the police, is we would fill up fire extinguishers with water and shaving cream. And we would actually use that to spray cars. The issue that I had is I went into the state vehicle lot. And that's where I actually, would spray that, which was actually fire department official vehicles and police vehicles. But that's another story for another show. But I think I'm well versed in creating complete havoc on a convoy, because guys, I don't know if you know this or not, and this is a big secret for the audience, but I was actually a CB kid. So my grandfather's
like literally no one's surprised.
My grandfather's handle was Old Milwaukee or Milwaukee Kid. Mine was very original. It was Jackrabbit. So I would, get on the CB. So I know how to use a CB. I can actually install a CB. So I think we're to a point where I think we should start the Mighty Peculiar anti-convoy as soon as possible. And I think we could actually get people on here right now where we could get vehicles, intercept that convoy, ride with them, spray them with fire extinguishers, wear handlebar mustaches, right? And make sure we get to the gas stations, right? And what we could do there is we could just let some air out of the tires and then play Taylor Swift music as loud as we can,
That's
and
the
with
key.
big speakers. So there you go. The anti-convoy, you heard it here first on the Mighty Peculiar. And then tonight on the Mighty Peculiar, on OnlyFans, we'll go into, we don't know.
No,
we don't have OnlyFans yet.
No, we don't. And we won't.
I just think we would do really well. I really do. I mean, I had a colonoscopy today.
I'm very.
But no, we should definitely do an OnlyFans. We should actually do
You won't let it go. You just keep like it's the rake and you're stepping on it and it's hitting me in the face. You step on the rake, it hits me in the face. I don't understand how this works. Okay, so let's talk about underlying.
Peggy Smith just said we could play Shake It Off, which again, I want to make another joke about my procedure.
No,
I'm not.
okay,
no, I'm not.
Everyone stop encouraging him.
But Peggy's doing it. No, it's their fault. It's the listener's fault for actually. It is all their fault for doing it.
Stop him, Matt. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my God! You're gonna do a dad joke? Oh my God!
Did anyone see the joke I posted recently about my spine? It was about a week back. WEAK. All right. Moving on. Okay. So why is there a convoy? Now, I need.
Tell me why, Matt.
Got very little history in this episode. So if everyone wants to but if you guys love when Matt talks about history, you're going to get it here for 1 second. That song Convoy and the Sammy Hagar song, I Can't Drive 55, basically about the same thing. The speed limit. There you go. That's your history. You're welcome.
That's it.
No, but truth be told, the basis of the song Convoy was in the idea of the speed limit being lowered, but it also had to deal with safety procedures being implemented, because in the song they talk about how they just can't seem to falsify their reports anymore about how long and recklessly they've been driving, and they don't want to stop at way stations so people can check on. So the song Convoy that is became a hit again in Canada during, what did they call it? The Freedom Convoy or whatever during the COVID shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
That song is basically about we want to keep driving recklessly. Well, damn big brother deep state making us get some sleep.
God, what's amazing when that convoy, was a lot of it was about disrupting the supply chain, which I think is pretty heinous when you're talking about during COVID and things like that. I mean, these are really the most awful people, or they're people that are so easily duped that their stupidity actually equals being awful. I've said it many times before, whether you're shot on accident or shot on purpose, you're still getting shot. So, a lot of people are like, he accidentally shot his spouse, so sad, and she's dead. He doesn't give a rat's if it was accident or on purpose. She's still dead. Right. Or, sad, she purposely took an axe to his head. So the issue is, if you get killed on accident or purpose, or something stupid happens on accident or there's some kind of bad outcome, stupidity is just as bad as that specific type, of motive, because ignorance and stupidity at that level, if you're that gullible and that credulous, you're a danger to all of us. Your stupidity is a disease. It's something that can be spread. It's metastatic. It metastasizes. Metastatic. It's a metastatic disease.
Oh, you were actually using real words. I'm sorry.
I was running real word. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's you. My nickname's Merriam-Webster. Damn it. So anyway, we have this going on. But I think that's why our listeners are going up in the podcast and stuff, is because let's just call it out. Let's call it for it is. These are morons.
Okay, right. So let me ask you this then. If they're morons, which I'm going to grant you because there's tens of morons involved in this convoy.
There were a lot more than the other convoys, though. I'm just saying, you're right. There's tens of
Right.
morons.
But okay, so in this case, now, what they are, if we give them the credit that like they have real intentions, it is to go see the border and make sure that the federal government is not interfering with what the state's doing. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, one hand is doing one thing, the other hand's doing another thing. Like, how are these things coming together? Is it the grifting, right? Is it the people that are planning this that are basically saying like, hey, we see an exploitable problem there in Texas, so let's just mobilize people from wherever? Or like, how is a convoy and the border thing, how are they linked? Let me ask you that.
They're not. I think,
right.
Listen, they think that these people don't even know what they're doing. They don't know why they're actually doing the convo. It's because somebody told them to. Doug was talking about his Facebook friend, who did the convoy, didn't really know why they were there. And I think that's the issue that you have, is you're going to have different answers from all of the mouth breathers, depending on, what part of the truck they were breathing from.
So I followed it on there because they broadcast on Twitch for the last 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
It was the greatest reality. I'm not gonna lie. It was the greatest reality show I've ever seen. Yeah. Like it is. And you know what? I have to say, like, some of them came off real sweet. They didn't know why they were, they look at it as like a party atmosphere.
Right.
And then like, there's the other guys sort of in the background that are like, they're for the border. And they don't know what they're going to do when they got at this point in time. They didn't know what they were going to do when they got there,
because it's question mark like profit, right? It's like, we're going to go to the border,
but you had like 4 or 5 like alpha males like arguing about who the leader was, and it was so good.
That's
like,
perfect.
Not since being Bobby Brown has there been a reality show that just hits the right spot. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful, guys. I wish you would have watched it.
I like that they decided to get, let's not settle these things in advance. Let's get on the open road. Then let's have our power struggle. I like that.
And then talk smack about each other on the Twitch. Like, there's a guy named Oreo in this pack. And let me tell you something. Depending on who's taking control of the Twitch for that couple of hours is how popular Oreo is through the course of the day. And like, some of them, I don't trust that Oreo. He's watching you on Twitch right now. It was so amazing. Like,
he's in the next lane.
Right.
Just
do we have a picture of Oreo? Do we have a picture of Oreo?
I'll find one. You guys go ahead. I'll find a picture.
Yeah, find a picture of Oreo. You know what it is, Matt? And I think our listeners like that we make these connections because they're so deep, right? They're actually so layered. I think they're
this
profound.
Is like a double stuffed like connection here.
It really is. It really is. It leaves something on your teeth. It's so good. And so I think what we have here, though, is that this is a Bigfoot expedition. Think about it. First of all these people believe in Bigfoot. There's no doubt. They believe in Bigfoot, alien abductions. They believe that Area 51 is hiring alien body parts. They believe that we have space technology at Area 51. And I know we have some listeners that are sort of into the UFO thing, and I love you guys. I think it's great that you're into it. I'm just telling you, it's crap. It's a grifter mentality on the UFO side too. My God, they believe in fake moon landings. My thing is they believe they have a direct link to the supernatural. They probably have some beads that they like to rub on. They probably also have a little bit of a crystal belief, but they absolutely believe in Bigfoot. And here's the thing about Bigfoot expeditions when I went on them. The people didn't even know why they were really there either.
Right.
Was it the Bigfoot guys who believed that Bigfoot was real? Was it the people who believed it was a mystical Bigfoot and actually was an interdimensional long jumper, right, called the Quaventalor that's protecting us from the Dracos? Or was it, an interstellar Bigfoot that was there with the Zeta Reticuli, who's down there making sure that they're protecting the environment? Is it the actual magic man theory? Is it from the Great Spirit with red eyes that can take you? I mean, what Bigfoot are we talking about? Is it the Bigfoot that has infrasound? Is it the Bigfoot that actually can throw terror vibes at you? Is it the Bigfoot that can't see in infrared? Or is it it the Bigfoot that can see in infrared? Is the Bigfoot with gluten allergies, or is it a Homo erectus without gluten allergies? What the hell is it, right?
And
They
which
don't know
Bigfoot
what
has a
they're doing.
Class D license? Because we don't want a Bigfoot behind the wheel if he's not properly licensed.
I feel like that's a joke because of Bigfoot erotica, and you said Class D. So I think
I don't even know if that's the right kind of license. Yes, you are
You know,
correct in
based on
what
my
I was going
background, right?
for.
Oh my
Hey, let's talk
gosh!
about
So,
prom night.
well, that's what they say.
I
You
did
know,
that
when
to
they're
make
leaving,
Doug's eye twitch.
they're like, "It's time for us to go. We're off like a
Okay.
cheap prom dress."
So let me ask. Okay, so what we've got is the convoy is now in response to what is happening in Texas at the border in, was it Eagle Pass, is where the convoy's headed. But at the heart of what's going on in the heart of Texas, what's going on there at the border, of course, is Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, basically giving the double middle fingers to the federal government, right? So he's essentially just daring like a militia, like a Ruby Ridge style event to happen, right?
Greg Abbott's popularity is going to be determined, he thinks, on if he can show how big Texas is or how much he can shine his ass by pushing back on the deep state, led by Biden, right? And the fact that Biden has somehow let down the entire, world by allowing these, immigrants to come close to the border or to try to actually go over the border, which is, you're looking at the impeachment of Mayorkas, which is also completely tribal. Right. So there you go.
So can I interrupt you for 1 second? Because that was my follow-up question there was, so somewhere in this like awful stew of events, there is something about Greg Abbott wanting or advocating for, was it razor wire in the Rio Grande? Am I remembering okay.
You remember correctly.
Which is the thing that the federal government's essentially like, that was the main point of contention, right? Was like the inhumaneness of it. Was that?
I think it's not only the inhumane type of behavior, I think, Matt, but it was also the fact that you actually had state authorities denying federal authorities into specific types of areas. So you're talking about, putting people, in danger, talking about actual human beings that could be, bad things could happen to them. And there was really almost, you get to a point you just can't believe this is happening in the United States in 2024.
Right. Okay, so now let's circle back to Nana's Excellent Adventure, aka the Convoy. Do you think the people that are fighting on Twitch about like who's King Oreo versus like Chips Ahoy over there, like, do you think they're like really invested in like, let's let those migrants like get torn up by razor wire? Like they're really pro that? They have no idea that that's happening? Are they connecting? Because ostensibly it sounds like they are going to show support for the state of Texas. Now the state of Texas seems to be wanting to do this razor wire thing, which the federal government doesn't. So it's like, are they co-signing that? Is that what we're seeing here?
Whether you get shot on purpose or shot on accident, you're still getting shot, number one. Number two, they don't even know what they're going to do 24 hours after they get there. They have no idea. They really don't. And number three, these are cosplayers. These are people that are, they're their own movie stars in their own movie. They've been called to action by President Trump or whatever, ideology that they're following at the time that seems to align with MAGA or the far right. They want to be famous. They want to be out there. They somehow think this might monetize them in some way. Is that, good Lord, is that Oreo? So now,
Oreo.
That was Oreo. And look how he's dressed. Can we flash Oreo back up there? Can I just sort of point out? Can we flash Oreo back up there? Is it possible, Doug? If not, so can we just keep him up there? Just everybody stare at that guy. First of all, this guy thinks he's really cool.
Yes, he does.
He thinks it. Now I'm wondering if he's wearing, let's look at him real quick.
He's got the Richard Spencer hair, so he's off to a good start.
Yeah, and first of all, I think he might color the top of his hair because it doesn't really match his beard. Also, when you look at those sunglasses, he's hoping they look cool, but they really don't. I think they're cheap knockoffs.
I think he looks like he got his eyes dilated.
Also, if you look at his collar, have you never heard of collar tabs? I mean, for the love of God. I mean, if you're going to try to look cool, make sure that your shirt is actually puffed up specifically and correctly, and that you actually have your jacket around there specifically. Also, that jacket looks like a Men's Warehouse jacket. Nothing against Men's Warehouse, but that's what it looks like, guys. I can tell by the cut, because I'm such a cool dude, right? I'm a fashion, guy. I'm kidding. I have no idea. But I guess what I'm telling you about this guy is that he's a poser. He's a poseur. And Oreo wants to make money, and he thinks if he looks good, he's going to make more money because somehow he believes in the book, The Secret. He probably has that on his shelf, so, so boy, that was a hell of a rant. But I'm right.
You are 100% right. Actually, one of the best things to do on this show is just ask Denver to describe someone, because I never really know where it's going to go. So there we go. Guy that aspires to shop at Men's Warehouse is leading the Convoy, which is pretty wonderful.
He's the guy who wants to use lifting chalk at a Planet Fitness, right? He really is. He's that guy,
Some say I'm a lucky grifter. Some say.
I have a feeling he's a guy that is constantly being like, hold me back. But no one's holding him. And they're just going to.
No, he's the guy at the bar fight, hides in the bathroom, comes out after and just kicks the guy who's already down in the freaking ribs. That's just what this guy is. I'm telling you, that's who he is. Okay. Go ahead, Matt. I know you have some other cool things about the
Convoy. Okay. So just a couple other things, just kind of while we're talking about the border situation, we'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about what's going on with the legislation. Be sailing right through and going well until Trump basically says, scuttle it. I know that's oversimplifying it, but it seems like that's exactly what's happening. Now, as someone who's actually experienced with working on legislation, what's your response? If you heard, okay, so you're still in Congress, you've worked on, you're working on something, and not the president, not the actual sitting president or nothing, but just a candidate says, don't do that. Do you listen at all? Do you
they do.
But listen, would you? I'm asking.
Well, look where I'm at now.
I know. I'm trying to I'm throwing the red meat out because this is what the people want. They want to hear Denver go of course not. No. And then rant about why these people suck.
Well, of course you want to do exactly what's right for the constituency of the United States of America, but there's only one thing they worry about. That's getting reelected.
Yeah.
So if that's the only thing they worry about, that means they have priorities they have to do first before they worry about America or getting something done. And here's their priorities. Number one is fundraising. Number two is making sure that the leaders of the party don't stop your fundraising. So 1 and 2 are very related. Number 3 is polling. So even if it's right for the United States of America, say you're in a district, say it's a Republican and you're an R+20 district by PVI. PVI means your political voting index, if people want to look that up. That means that the R's have a 20-point advantage in that district. That's a huge advantage. My district, when I ran, was R+6 to R+8, something like that. So an actual sort of moderate Democrat always had a chance in our district until they just redrew the boundaries. What you see, though, is that they're getting amazing pressure from party leadership. If they don't actually follow the line, they're going to have their fundraising taken away and their ability to do their own. And how's that? And I hope everybody can guess what I'm about to say. They get their committee assignments taken away from them, the important ones. So instead of being on an A committee like Ways and Means, where you're on financial services, right? Some of the big ones, you're actually put on science and technology, or you're put on another committee, right? That's, not quite as robust or doesn't actually have a purse strings. Right? The science and technology committee, right, is the ones that really, it is. It's death, but also it's also death because that's where Grush would go or things like that, right? To talk about, UFOs, alien body parts, and how he has alien technology, in his spine. So, you have all that's going on. So really, when you're talking about this, if Trump is messaging to leadership that they don't want that vote, he's also threatening them if they go against him that he will make sure that he turns the apparatus of fundraising against them, which means they start withdrawing money and support, and he'll endorse somebody in their primary.
Yeah.
You got to get through the primary if you're going to win your election. The primary is where it's at. So that's what's going on, Matt. And while they're doing that, they're blaming Biden, which is really a great move for their base. But I responded to this in a Twitter X about my Orcus that went crazy on my Twitter because I just tried to apply some common sense to what was happening, explain why this is happening. This has nothing to do with what's right. It has to do with getting reelected and supporting the head of the party, who's Donald Trump. That's it. That's the bottom line. Everything else is wrapped in that.
Right. And in that tweet, you expressly linked like imploring people to read the, what the statement on Mayorkas or the letter without the tribalism lens. Like if you can drop that, you would see that this is a ridiculous waste of time trying to impeach this, him right now for.
So what's the political calculation? The impeachment is to cover up a couple of things. First, the horrific failure of the Hunter Biden hearings and trying to link Hunter to his dad to go through impeachment for Joe. So the Mayorkas impeachment is like the plan B. It's the minor league impeachment because Comer absolutely just fell on his face in the Hunter Biden hearings. And why? I know
he got a lot of guy.
Yeah, and you're looking at Denver, right? How do I know? Because I saw all the data. That was me. Right? That was me who saw the laptop data. It's us that saw that it wasn't actual laptop data. Had no chain of custody. We also know there's multiple devices. There's so much more going on out there that the American public doesn't know because the media doesn't even know how to capture technology. They're ignorant. Right. And that's why you see his attorneys being more bold and putting it out there. And that's why you see withdrawn, the people that were out there because all of the data, all the sourcing for the Hunter Biden stuff comes from Bannon and Giuliani. That's where it all goes back to. So when you're looking at Mayorkas impeachment, if you read the 7-page letter from Mayorkas to the actual committee, I really hope people read that letter. And I hope they read it without the tribal blinders on, just on the statistics and data as compared to the Trump administration and the border. And I think it'll be real eye-opening for people.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of looking at the chat here and someone asked a question about if Trump is not the president, which he is not, how and why the GOP in Congress are so disgustingly beholden to him. Can someone explain that? Now, I think you more or less addressed that in that, let's put it this way. They let him have the power. I mean, ultimately, I think at the end of the day, again, if there was an en masse, like if people like moved in lockstep or like made, if elected Republicans had said, no, we're done with him. Like there'd be short-term pain, but like he could be like a cast off like any other failed candidate. Like, yes, he will have his people, but he's never won a majority, right? So, but they are willingly ceding their power to him.
Listen, January 6th, it seemed that day, January 6th, January 7th, you had certain GOPers come out and link January 6th to Trump.
Yeah.
It wasn't a week later or so that McCarthy is belly crawling to Mar-a-Lago in subservience. And it's because of one reason. And again, I want people to pay attention to this. It's because of polling.
Right.
It's because of polling. That's it. Take away
and
everything.
We're talking
else.
Their individual poll.
Their individual districts.
Yes.
Looking at Trump as the front runner, how their fundraising lines are working. But it's also, if you look in a poll, it's the crosstabs. When you look at the crosstabs, it shows what people are what they believe in the most. What's their most important issues. If it's a stolen election, that's Trump.
Yeah.
If it's deep state globalism, that's Trump.
Right.
They're seeing this. So they really never had a chance to separate because the base is so beholden to Trump. The base is pushing this election. So this question is rather brilliant because the issue is that Trump holds just enough, maybe not to win, but he definitely holds enough to sink you.
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's because if he holds 35 to 40% of the base, and I'm going full circle, what's the most important part in their minds? Is winning? What's the most important part about winning? You have to win the primary.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can always ask President Jeb Bush how losing the primary to win the general went.
Yeah, not great.
That was a great strategy.
Please clap.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, so that's what you have, right? So again, I know we got into a little bit of policy here. And I know we got into, how things work, but a lot of people put layers. Smart people, even, on social media, or smart people, maybe they think they're smart like pundits, but you have all these other individuals, they try to put layers that actually sound pretty good. That's stratification. Here's why these policy issues. It just comes down to, in that specific district, what is the favorability rating of Donald Trump? If it's over 50% in your base, you're a Donald Trump fan if you only care about winning.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be completely pessimistic or just a pragmatic, jerk. But again, it all goes back to polling, crosstabs, fundraising, winning. Polling, crosstabs, fundraising, winning. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. And just for the sake of I maybe to kind of bring some like starker relief to this, to speak to the people that are looking at things from the left, something that Denver was saying before about like how those individual like polls matter for the individual members, right? Like we always hear this about, gun control measures, like how popular they are, just like obscenely popular, like they're, nothing polls as high as them nationally. But why none of it ever really happens is because the key votes are going to be, or the bulk of the votes are going to be in the districts where it's going to poll like, sub, like they're going to they're going to legalize like, well, actually, I'm not going to make a Denver like joke there. I was about to, but no, but like what I mean is like, that's something from, if you're from like a Democratic perspective, that's like one of those things you beat your head against a lot. Like if this stuff is so popular, how come we can't get passed? Well, because nationally it is, but individually it's not.
Yeah. And, national polls, if you're looking at urban areas, of course it's going to be popular. But if you're looking at, say West Virginia's 2nd district, where, the district is massive, or even Virginia's 5th, which I think is as big as New Jersey, you're going to always have a cross section in your base that's going to say there's no way. One of the reasons I got in trouble, just to tell everybody, is because I was in an actual forum and they asked if a Republican forum, they stood up and said, Denver, we'll vote for you if you promise to fight to legalize fully automatic machine guns. That is a quote. I said,
fully automatic.
Fully automatic. So what I said as I was standing up there, I said, you'd have to have a political death wish to go full Nell into a fully automatic machine gun argument, or to even try to push legislation. It would never get out of committee.
Right.
You'd actually have to drop it in the box and hope that you could get get it back to the committee, because I don't know if people know this, you can actually drop legislation in a drop box, but it still has to go through the committee process. So, you have all these things. People just don't understand how dumb that is. And,
right.
And listen, tribalism isn't just on the right, it's on the left. Tribalism is not party specific.
Sure.
The issue that you have is when tribalism becomes fanatical.
Yeah.
And when it actually becomes almost so unbelievable that you're actually flipped over a boat and you're swimming in the water and you still think life is good.
Just to be clear, Denver in no way suggested that anything the Democrats have done in the last 5 years equates to an attempted insurrection. Just so we're clear, he didn't say
correct.
That. There is tribalism on the left, sure.
Yeah,
of course there is. I mean, and I've been trying to explain to people that, when you look at, for instance, October 7th, we look at Hamas. I mean, we can go into all of that too. I'd love to. There's not a whole lot of people that have been in the tunnels. I bet in Israel, the terror tunnels. Do you know who has been in the terror tunnels? I have. Yeah, I've been on the border area. I've talked to Saeed Barakat of the PLO when he said he was happy to continue to give rewards to the families of suicide bombers. I mean, so when you have the kind of knowledge, right, that you get not from being smarter than anybody else, but just having those circumstances where you can sit there and actually hear it coming out of the people's mouth, where they self-identify, where they're telling you what they're doing, it gives you a perspective. Where when people are guessing, they think they know what's happening. You have to be very careful how you present it, because things probably you can't even say. But I think it's that tribalism where you're not willing to open your eyes and say, maybe there's another part of this that I need to look into, that I think we're really missing in American discourse right now. And I hope we can get back to that someday, some common sense, sane discourse where, maybe center right and center left can meet, for the good of the country. And I know that, again, now I'm sounding optimistic, but I do think maybe there's just enough smart people that might be able to save this place, maybe just enough sane people. But if those sane people aren't willing to speak out, we're going to have a real problem. Because at that point, when the crazy takes over completely, that's a disease. And that disease has a lot more energy than the sane. And that's the thing that frightens me.
Yeah, I mean, to speak to your experience, like you have tons of experience the rest of us don't. And also, like, a lot of military guys on the Republican side have a better insight as to what's happening in Israel in Gaza than the rest of us, right? Like, so is it tribalism that our knee-jerk reaction to people on the left is, ceasefire, or is it just, yeah, we're tired of seeing people die, you know what I mean? Like, but we don't know everything that's going, because we're told constantly it's a complex issue. There's
It's
more
so complex.
yeah,
It's
right.
the
So
mm,
on one hand, is it fair to present it like, the left is being, I'm not saying you're doing that, but I've seen it presented that the left is being very tribalist by insisting on a ceasefire. No, we have eyes. We see that, like, this isn't great, and maybe there's another solution besides entire annihilation. But at the same time, we're not there for the catchphrases of, what is it, to the land, to this, from the land to the sea,
from the river to the sea.
the river to the sea. Yeah, like,
Mhm.
we're not familiar with all of that. So it's, there's a point where, like, we don't know everything. Maybe we should accept that we don't know everything, but asking questions is fine.
It always is. Always is. I guess what I'm talking about is when you see, like, when people don't understand the real reason somebody's yelling intifada. And I think it's just some of the things like, well, intifada actually means this. Hold on a second. In the context of how they're saying it, and they're saying kill the Jews, probably the context is different. So what I try to do is I actually do, Doug, try to thread the needle.
Right.
Nobody wants to see civilians killed.
Right.
But also I know that the cowards in Hamas are not going to hide in the wide open.
Right.
So, and also I do know ROE, rules of engagement. I do know there's Israel's not there wantonly killing civilians. That's not true. But I also know that these guys, they're crafty and they will hide amongst civilians. Also, when you look at the Palestinian support, people need to just go look at the Palestinian support for Hamas. I just ask for people it sucks. There's actually two things can be right at the same time in this awful world that we're in.
Right.
The issue that I have right now, though, with the right, we can have this discussion on the left with the right, is that they don't even take that in consideration either. They're just saying Israel, 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 right? Which is, I'm pro-Israel, but I'm not pro-death of children.
Right.
So now when I come back, I'm like, hey, I'm very careful because I'm like, listen, what happened on October 7th is so evil, so absolutely despicable. I can feel the rage.
Yeah.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip, right, that rage, I get it. I know how they fight. I've been there. I got it. But that rage cannot translate to indiscriminate killing or saying that this type of collateral damage at that point is okay. That is a slippery slope. And I think that's what the saying on both sides are trying to say is like, listen, there should be a reaction. Hamas is a death cult that should absolutely be obliterated and every single one of them exterminated.
Right.
However, a 5-year-old is not a part of that, even if they're being shielded.
Right.
They're being, and that is a very hard discussion. People get very emotional.
Sure.
I get it. I get it. But if you don't look at that seam, you can get very violent on both sides about what you believe.
Absolutely.
But when you have a party that's having a hold my beer moment,
right,
like the right, now you have an escalation that might be something we can't stop, because the biggest predictor of violence on the far right is the far left. The biggest predictor of violence on the far left is the far right.
Absolutely.
The left has not responded in kind yet to the right. And my guess is there might be violence from the left, which the right will use and say, see, I told you so, when the left is responding to the right's diatribes and vice versa. That's what scares me, is political violence on both sides based on a tribalistic urge to protect or to say my way of thinking is the right way, regardless of circumstances, sanity, or facts.
I'd like to pick up on what you were just saying there about the left and right, and speak to a comment. Catherine in the chat said that, like, sometimes she hasn't always been worried about the left's tribalism because they're just worse at organizing. And terrible. In a lot of ways, that's what's that?
Yeah, they're terrible at organizing.
Well, but see, also, and this is something that I always like to try and underline whenever possible, is the difference between the coalitions, right? The difference between the makeup of the parties plays into that. Like, you may see like there's just as much tribalism, or there's tribalism on all sides, but it's easier to see on the right because there's a lot more uniformity there. That is a much more white and older base, right? Like there's a lot of similarities there, whereas like the left ends up always being this kind of like I often talk about as like a Looney Tunes fight, where it's like Taz and like something, and they're like mostly a dust storm, like destroying things, and every now and then you see like a limb or whatever, and then like when it settles they're both injured. That's the left, in my opinion. Like, and you
Pretty
can
close,
kind
yeah.
of pull it together, right?
Oh.
So sometimes that makes the tribalism not seem as big, right? Because it's already fragmented and it's already like very, very loosely held together.
Well, it's like the meme with the lady and the cat screaming at the cat. Do you guys know what meme I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lady screaming is the Democrats saying you broke the rules.
Yeah.
And the Republicans are the cat, like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's
you're the only ones that care about rules. So
I'm going to drag this conversation from tribalism to the vomit monster in the week on the same thread.
Ah, yes, I love it.
So the left, what we do, how we fall for this every time. Speaking of stepping on rakes and being the most disorganized knuckleheads on earth, we fall for my vomit monster of the week, which is thirst trap tweets, which are people tweeting about Taylor Swift, and our knee-jerk reaction to call them small incels and, insert emasculating remark here. They profit from your engagement, knuckleheads. Like, if it's a blue check and they're tweeting something, this goes from politician to everyday music things. Like, I follow a lot of music things on Twix, and I saw the dumbest shit ever. The guy was like, is Master of Puppets as important as Led Zeppelin 2? No, jerk off, it isn't. I get up my phone and I'm like, I'm going to say just that. No. And then I realized, no, they're making money off me because of the engagement. They have the monetized tweet switch, which blue checks get switched on. So when you are there defending Taylor Swift from the 12 incels that are like, grown ass men, and so like you lose, sucker. Every time Marjorie Taylor Greene tweets something outrageous and you respond, you lose, sucker. Like every time. Quit falling for it, because that is some dumb leftist shit right there. Thank you.
Man, you guys just like took like grandma's molasses as like cough medicine from Doug. Like,
yeah.
No, that was awesome, Doug. That was awesome.
Came in hard like my nana.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
We know who Doug learned from.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll talk about people that I would really love to yell at and engage with a lot. But thanks to Doug, I know to refrain. Want to talk about Ben Shapiro, but more specifically, a man named Tom McDonald, who has some lovely face tattoos. Look at that charming man. Just drink it in.
Dollar Tree Post Malone.
Yes. Yeah. He is look, no, we're not doing Dollar Tree Post Malone. Like, this is like, it's venture Post Malone. It went out of business a long time ago.
It's crack addict Hanson.
Yep.
All right, there we go. Anyways, Tom McDonald and Ben Shapiro dropped a great horrible song called Facts, in which Ben Shapiro does a little rapping in it, which is funny on too many levels. But why these guys are my vomit monster is because they are all projection. Look at those guys. So main chorus is I don't care if I offend you. The guy is writing a song about being constantly offended by modern culture. And he has the balls to be like, and I'm not offended. No, you literally are the most offended, like, by everything. Like, if a movie called Barbie comes out and it just happens to star women, Ben Shapiro cries. Like, he is literally the snowflake that he complains about. the facts don't care about your feelings, like Ben prides himself on. That guy, look, he melts down at everything. He has a hissy fit, everything. And that song is one big temper tantrum, like that is just kind of showing them for what they really are, which is just horrible snowflakes. And that's not even a white rapper joke. It's not Snow, not Informer. Hey, Doug, is Allison
Vanilla
Chain's
Isis.
Jar of Flies, Vanilla Isis, Jar of Flies, or is it Britney Spears' Baby One More Time? Which is the more essential album?
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, okay.
That,
so anyways.
Both sides of my brain were just tied into a knot just then.
So don't listen to that song. Don't engage with them.
I'm gonna tweet at you because you're not a blue check.
And thank you, and I hate you, Tim Yobo, for drawing my attention to this damn song, which has been haunting me all week. Denver.
Yeah.
My God, that's fantastic.
F Tim Yobo.
Yes,
yes,
Engage
for sure.
with Tim Yobo. Just find him.
By the way, guys, I also have a blue check, for our show also, and I do not monetize my tweets.
But engage with Denver because that helps.
There's a reason. There's a reason. As far as I know, I don't think I clicked it, but I've never gotten a dime, and I won't do it. Allison Change rocks.
Yes.
I was thinking about, when you're talking about this stuff, I do want to go back a little bit. I think it was Mama Bird who said that the normal GOP showed up, that they could kick the Trumpers out. And God, I love you guys, and I love you, Mama Bird, but that's not correct. If you look at the cross polling or look at the polling in the districts, sadly, if you still have 65 to 70% believing the election was stolen, that means there's a minority of GOPers who believe the election was actually valid.
Yeah,
that is the number one issue. They say about Biden inflation, talk about things like that. They talk about the Afghanistan pullout, which is going to get big again in 2024. I just want to let everybody know that it's going to work. A lot of independents too. Just the way it is. But we're in a time where the tribe is saying that Trump is really the only way back, regardless of his immorality and really his belly crawling instincts. That's it. I'm sorry. I really thought Trump had a real chance to win here. If we have a third party candidate, he does. And I just want to let people know you still have to have your head on the swivel because I think that's going to happen. So, Vomit Monster of the Week is anybody on earth who says that Taylor Swift is a Pentagon asset. A lot of that came from the Jack Posobiec's and stuff like that. But I think we're to a time where, the 9/11 truther, October 7 truthers, all that kind of stuff has gone to a point. What's that? And I want to answer that question that just popped up too, Doug. We're getting to a point where it's always a false flag, always a deep state, always a globalist type of measure if they're losing. I've never seen people that want to retreat into fantasy because they're losing in such a spectacular way. And I think that my vomit monsters of the week are those same globalist idiots and conspiracy theorists that are tying what happened in all the other conspiracy theories they have, from Italian satellites to Hammer and Scorecard at NSA to Hugo Chavez stole the election to burning ballots out of white vans to hiding ballots. To digital mules coming from Romania and dear Lord, from Romania and Eastern Europe. They're tying that to Taylor Swift and as a Pentagon or an FBI asset. And I think we're to a point that I would say that 20 to 25% of the base on the GOP side believe that. So there you go. That's my vomit monster of the week. As for Elizabeth Roberts, yes, if you're talking about the base, that polling is pretty close. I'm here. I listen to it all the time. Here's the statement. There's no way that many votes could have changed in the middle of the night. I can explain computers and math all day long. I can explain batching. I can explain all kinds of stuff. But just to let you know, Elizabeth, for many of the base, if you're talking about the congressional representatives, I can tell you that fully 70% of them don't believe that crap, that they got to do that because of the base. Again, it's polling, crosstabs, and fundraising. And the base drives that. And they have believed the disinformation. So sadly, the base, a majority of them do believe that the election was stolen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that being said, guys, join us next week. We're going to let Denver go to sleep.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for being here. And we'll join you next week on The Mighty Peculiar.
Thank you.
Love everyone.
Stay peculiar. Yes.